Wild 'N Out is one of the greatest shows of the century, and you'd agree with me if you have a sense of humor and enjoy watching people get roasted. However, there are times on the show when the roasting games become brutal, and it feels like it's no longer a game, but something more personal is actually going on. Welcome to our channel. In this video, we'll be talking about some of the most brutal comebacks on Wild 'N Out. Shaq and Nick Cannon. First on our list is when former basketball star Shaquille O'Neal went head-to-head against Nick Cannon in a freestyle rap challenge. We know Shaq is a beast on the basketball court, but until his guest appearance on Wild 'N Out, we didn't realize that the man could spit some bars. What better place for Shaq to display his hidden talent than on Wild 'N Out style games, where nothing is off limits. During the freestyle, Nick, the captain of the black squad, called Shaq out for lying about being into women when he's actually a jolly gay giant.
Claim you like chicks, man, dog, you lying. Everybody give it up for the jolly gay giant.
The former basketball player clapped back, saying Nick wasn't the only one who was making Mariah Carey hit them high notes.
Jolly gay, I like that quote. You wasn't the only one making Mariah hit them high notes.
The look on Nick's face, as well as the reaction of the audience, was pure shock, and even Nick acknowledged that the game was over at that point. Emmanuel versus Nick Cannon. Emmanuel has been a cast member of the show for many years, and we love seeing him get into roast mode, especially on Wild Style. One of the most unforgettable moments was when his team made a comeback against Nick's team during a game. The black team was down 3 points after Nick, and the rest of the platinum team brutally murdered them. However, when Emmanuel took the stage, the dynamic of the game changed completely. His comeback was directed at Nick, and like always, he made a jab at Nick's fairly successful career, saying the only reason he's relevant is because of his ex-wife Mariah Carey.
Nick, when you was rapping, I was snatching out my ears. The only reason you relevant is because Mariah carries your career.
He also went on to drag him for his unstable career as a TV host, has dabbed into different spheres from acting to rapping, and he's made an irrelevant amount of success. At first, Emmanuel said listening to Nick's album was a pain. Then he topped it off by saying the entire album was worthless.
He went from rapping to acting. Of course, the people gonna doubt him. You did Love Don't Cost a Thing, and neither did your album.
That was pretty brutal, but the way Nick took it was pretty impressive. Lele versus DC. DC is one of our favorite rappers on the show for a long list of reasons, but his vibrant personality as well as his crazy talent has to be on the top of that list. Most importantly, when it comes to roasting people, DC is a master at the game, and he's rarely been beaten at it. However, to everyone's amazement, he got his ass handed to him by an 8-year-old girl. The episode where Lele visited the show is one of the most hilarious on Wild 'N Out history, thanks to Lele's smart mouth and the way she dragged almost every cast member. However, her interaction with DC takes the cake. DC started out by saying he was gonna keep it real with the little girl, and he did.
You think you up here grown until your little ass start paying some bills. I'm talking like bill, gas, man. That's gonna kick your ass.
I mean, it doesn't get more real than that, right? However, Lele came back at him with a brutal response. After calling his and his teammates' outfits whack, she went on to state the truth in the meanest way possible. In her response, she reminded DC and his teammates that she had been making money since she was 6 years old, and that she was her own boss, unlike those who worked for Nick. Talk about brutal. Nick Cannon versus Snoop Dogg. A few celebrities often make guest appearances on the show. For example, the legendary Snoop Dogg. Snoop is one of the greatest rappers of all time, and he proved that a game of Wild Style was barely a challenge to him. Unfortunately, he did that at Nick Cannon's expense. The two men were the captains of opposing teams, Snoop for Platinum and Nick for Gold Team. When it was time for their face-off, Nick Cannon started out by calling Snoop's shoes ugly-ass church shoes.
Them ugly-ass church shoes.
Not gonna lie, he wasn't wrong, and everyone agreed. But Nick's victory smile faded as soon as Snoop retorted. The summary of his comeback was that regardless of Nick's opinions about his looks, he's a much better rapper than the TV host.
I can look so fresh and so clean and so sack, but let me tell you about your rap is straight whack.
And if he got into how whack he is as a rapper, his whole day would be ruined.
You can't get it and you don't do it. I'm supposed to do 2 bars, but I'm about to ruin your day.
He also went on to say that he and Nick weren't in the same league, obviously. Honestly, it felt like Snoop was going easy on Nick because there was a whole lot he could have dragged him for, but he didn't. However, although he didn't say much, Snoop Dogg said enough to put Nick and his teammates in their place.
Wildin' out the Platinum Crew, we came to get you and you too.
Chico Bean versus Conceited and Fat Joe. The Wild Style moment when Chico Bean took on nearly all members of the opposing team has to be one of the most iconic comebacks during Wild Style for the year 2022. First, he started with Conceited, who he dragged for being short, talked about how he was gonna spit scary bars, and of course made some sexual comments regarding Conceited's girlfriends.
You are 4'5" and 45. Every time I grab a mic, y'all get horrified, and I keep your girl legs open like the Jordan sign.
When that was done, he moved on to the cast member Fat Joe and made a joke about his most obvious feature, his weight.
Let me talk to Fat Joe. Say he lost weight, but he's still fat though. Hold on.
That wasn't a new joke or anything, but for some reason, it's a good one every single time. Right after that, Chico, who's on a roll, said that another cast member from the opposing team was built like an airbag. After Chico was done, Maddie, who was his teammate, continued from where he had stopped. However, her shade was directed at Nick. She made fun of how understandable it is that Nick gets hated for his multiple baby mamas. And she also said she hated Conceited because he looks like a child.
You get a lot of hate for the baby mamas, and I can see it. I don't like kids, that's why I hate Conceited.
Nick's and Conceited's teams wasn't exactly able to clap back. I mean, they tried, but Chico's comebacks were too hard to match. Churn versus Nick and Conceited. Churn is another interesting cast member of Wild 'N Out, known for spitting very hard lines. On this particular Wild Style challenge, Churn single-handedly took out multiple members from the opposing team, including Justina, Candy, Nick, and Conceited, after they had dragged his teammates. Churn started out by saying Candy's favorite band was the all-female country band Dixie Chicks.
I'm gonna hit you with some different flips. I bet your favorite band is the Dixie Chicks.
After saying that, Churn moved on to Conceited, which he said was built like a kindergartner.
Con, you built like a kindergartner. You dying for sport. I mean, this guy is so short, even Nick Cannon wouldn't show this child support.
He also said that Con was so short, he could get caught in a mousetrap. At that point, all everyone could do was react to Churn's hard bars and watch how the members of the opposing team were wallowing in their defeat. However, unfortunately for them, Churn was not even close to being done. Next up, he took a swing at both Con and Nick at the same time.
Nick, I'm trying to tell you Con dumb, but you know nothing about that.
You get it? He basically called Conceited dumb while simultaneously dragging Nick for having multiple baby mamas. Honestly, that was legendary. The only way Conceited's team was still able to win was because he took the shots at Sharon's teammates. But honestly, none of his comebacks towards Sharon even came close. DC versus Nick Cannon. We all love DC, mainly because he knows how to give a good roast in an amusing way. But another reason why he's so loved is because he never misses an opportunity to throw shade at the Wild 'N Out boss, Nick Cannon. A lot of unforgettable roasts have transpired between the two men, but in this section we'll only be talking about one of them. This happened in a Wild Style game between the Platinum team, where DC was on, and the Gold team, where Nick was the captain. After Nick threw shade at a cast member on the Platinum team, DC decided to step in with a very solid comeback. He said the reason why Nick wasn't on their team was because none of his albums were even platinum.
Let me tell you one thing about your albums. The reason why you ain't the captain of this team, cause they ain't never went platinum.
While everyone was still trying to recover from that, DC topped it off with this.
And what I might say, might rock this world, but you ain't the only one smashing these Wild 'N Out girls.
I mean, let's not pretend like we'll be surprised if Nick's next baby mama was one of the Wild 'N Out girls. Alright, next on this list is yet another rap battle between Nick Cannon and DC. This particular freestyle rap challenge was titled TV Host, and things swiftly got out of hand before anyone could say what was going on. The heat between the two men was so intense that they had to be separated at a point. It started out with the momentum on Nick's team when he shaded DC for being a wannabe host.
I am the real one, you wanna be one, a TV host.
It seemed like Nick had the upper hand until DC clapped back by bringing up America's Got Talent. We all know Nick Cannon was a host of NBC's America's Got Talent until 2017, after a very public fallout between him and NBC. Although he says he wasn't, everyone believes Nick was fired from the show. He claims to have left voluntarily after the network threatened to terminate his contract because he disparaged their brand. Obviously, it hit close to home when DC made that comment about the show. And while it was fun for everyone else, Nick didn't take it very lightly. and his comeback was quite intense. Again, he claims he didn't get fired, stating that he quit.
You know you tired. Everybody know that I didn't get fired. I quit that hit that rip that I get that off the top of the dome. You know I spit that you know what I'm in.
You could tell he was riled up because that's probably the most serious we've ever seen Nick. Well, emotions aside, it was a tight comeback. Chico Bean and Michael Rainey Jr. To wrap up the list, we'll be talking about the Wild Style Challenge between Chico Bean and Michael Rainey Jr., who placed Tariq on the American Series Power. This ended up being one of the most intense battles on Wild 'N Out. Chico started by dissing Michael's Asian teammate with a racist joke, but the intense moment we're really talking about was when the two team leaders had a face-off. Chico called Michael, aka Tariq, the second most hated person in the neighborhood because of his character in the movie, while poking him with his finger.
It's true. The most hated people in the hood is Donald Trump and then you.
When Michael clapped back, he returned the favor by poking Chico. However, for some reason, Chico had a problem with it and told his opponent that he would knock his ass out if he touched him again.
Hey, this is a show and I can be your friend, but I'ma knock your ass out if you touch me again.
That may not have been brutal, but we can't deny that it was pretty intense. Thanks for watching the video. Hit us up in the comment section and give us a thumbs up if you liked the video, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content.